Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Suikoden 5. Let's continue watching the bath scenes. I believe the first one we want to do is in the outdoor bath. Let's go. Actually, I think both of them are outdoor bath ones. I really like Linfa's hair.
Greetings, Comrade Norma. We've been expecting you. Comrade?
This one is called The Secret Society.
Comrade Linfa, bring the initiate forward. Yes, ma'am. Please, Comrade Norma, this way. Wait, huh? The Secret Alliance for the Protection of Pretty Hunks in Real Endangerment will come to order. Yay! Woo!
I'm not even sure if that picked up on the microphone.
The secret what? Just call it Sapphire. Okay. Well, I can see Nifsara putting together something like this, but you too, Linfa? Sure, why not? I love cute boys too, you know. I only came here in the first place because of the prince, after all.
Well, you know, that and the fact that I bailed you out a couple times.
Oh, I didn't know that. Now then, Comrade Norma, we have brought you into the fold for one reason alone.
Kind of curious what this reason is.
Our sources tell us that your leopard companion suffers from a curse, and that its true form is actually that of a very pretty boy. Is this so, Comrade? Huh? Pretty? Gee, I don't know. We've been friends for so long, I've never really thought about it. Now that you mention it, though, all the older girls in the village were crazy about him. Did you hear that, Comrade Linfa? I did, Comrade Nifsara. This is excellent news. Now to the heart of it. Comrade Norma. Can this curse be broken? Well, Levi is looking into that for us, but so far nothing. I see. Very well, then. Our duty is clear. Let's go, Comrade Linfa. Yes, Comrade Nifsara. Where are you going? Where else? We're off to find your sorcerer. And pound it into his head that he's got to break that curse immediately. I see. To observe, to protect, to observe some more. To observe, to protect, to observe some more. Should I tell him Ernst turns back into a human on full moon nights? Nah.
Wise choice there, Norma. Wise choice. Alright, and I think this other one is also an outdoor bath one.
What a pleasant bath.
Like reading the finest tome by the warmest firelight. I wonder how many centuries it's been since the last time I took a hot bath. This is so nice.
Oh, the temperature is perfect, isn't it?
Gentlemen, we are in paradise. Phew.
The water was perfect, Maroon. Well, I made it extra hot for you guys.
Oh, I feel so relaxed, right down to the bone.
Ah, yes. We'll surely come again soon. Oh, Ghetto went straight back to the lake, so there's nobody in there now. Okay, thank you very much. Huh?
Hey, those old folks are gone now, right? I'm next then.
Alrighty. I hope he'll be alright.
God, that's hot!
Uh-oh. I thought that was gonna happen.
Volga can't handle the heat. Alright, I'll be right back with another batch of party members. Alright, let's go get a well, really what's going to be the last batch of bath scenes. I think I misjudged exactly how long all of these would take. So I think after we go through all of these, we may be going to read the newspaper. Because that's something that I haven't really done yet. Why are you still wearing that in the bath, Aresh?
Oh wow, this place is huge.
Blub, 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 blub.
Aresh? Hey, Aresh, are you okay? Hey, hold on. Gasp. Much appreciated. Once again, Aresh finds herself too short. Well, here, tell you what. Come sit on my lap. Oh, Aresh wouldn't want to impose. No, it's all right. Come here. You're most kind indeed. Ah, yes, much better. Many thanks, Lele. No problem. Stupid smart kid. Oh, I'm so smart, but I can't figure out how to swim. Blub, blub, blub. Shunmin! Blub, 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 blub. Hey, stop that. That's not funny. Aw, but nothing. You really scared me. What were you thinking? Were Aresh to guess, Aresh would say that she envies Aresh's place on your lap. Is that right, Shunmin? Oh. Is that what that was all about? Well, can I sit on your lap too? Well, sure, I guess. Really? Whoopee! Wow, you've got long legs, Lele. This is okay, right, with both of us? Isn't this nice? It sure is. Well, as long as everybody's happy. It's good to be tall sometimes. Huh? Nothing, never mind.
You're supposed to take your clothes off in the bath there, Aresh. Alright, another outdoor bath one. Gronk. Beware of Dragon Horse. Don't be so upset, Lance. Rube just really needed to take care of some business. You understand, don't you? Oh, Rahul, and Lance too. Excellent. Grank? May we help you, Mosin? Well, me being an armor vendor and you being Dragon Cavalry, I thought I'd share a little idea I had with you. See, I'm thinking about having my craftsmen make armor for dragon horses. How's that sound? Armor for dragon horses, you say? Well, one can't deny that they are rather large. That does make them targets for archers. Heavy armor would cost mobility, but light armor just to fend off arrows. Fewer casualties. Thought you'd like the idea. Well, hey, let me measure old Lance here, and we'll get started. Pardon me, Lance, old boy, this won't take a sec. Mosa, no! Grank! Whoa, whoa, whoa! Gronk! Oof! Oh, dear. Blub, blub, blub. I was just about to say, Lance doesn't respond well if people touch him when Rube's not around. Are you alright? Yes. Beware of the dragon horses. And the last one. I actually was not expecting Oboro and Fuya to be here. Bath time for everybody. What a nice bath.
It sure is.
I feel like I'm turning young again.
Now, Fuyo, if you get any younger, you're going to need diapers.
Oh, Detective, stop teasing me.
I'm not teasing you. I'm being honest. Honesty is my middle name, you know. Stupid.
Hey, Shigure, what's the matter?
Why are you way over there? Come on over here with us.
I'll pass. Oh, what a pain.
A pain? You are such a...
Now, Fuyo. He's just embarrassed about taking a bath with us, that's all.
Oh, is that what it is? Come on, Sugar Ray, don't be such a child.
I'm not, that's the problem. Grown-up men and women don't take baths together. Not if they're normal, anyway.
You don't like it?
Huh?
You don't like taking baths with us?
Well, it's not like... never mind me. What about you, Sagiri? Don't you hate taking a bath with an old guy like him?
Hey, don't call Detective Oboro old. He's still so young.
That's okay, Fuyo. Sugar Ray only said that because he considers me his old man. I do not. Just shut up!
Say, Sugar Ray, can you tell?
Tell what?
When I'm really smiling and when I'm not?
Yeah, I guess.
How about right now?
Time's up. Looks like you lose, Shigure.
Now face your punishment. Quit being so stubborn. Get over here.
Whatever. And was that the last one? I think that was the last one. Yep. Now everyone just sits in a row. It's actually kind of freaky. Honestly, like, you can scroll around this whole place. I kind of wish that they'd put some, like, animation in for some, some of them would be swimming around, or some would appear that they were talking to each other or something like that, rather than just sitting in a row like that. Because it's kind of creepy, actually. What are you doing there, Lance? You get away from my bum. Alright, let's go read some newspapers to finish up the time. Not that I'm actually sure how long that actually took, but whatever. Actually, let me take a look to see how long it is. Yeah, file. Yeah, probably need another 15 minutes at least. There is one more bath scene, but we can't get it just yet. Some more story events have to trigger. Can't remember if we've read any of the newspaper yet or not. I think we read the preview and maybe the first issue. There are a lot of issues to get through. Alright, let's see. Issue 1. Pretty sure we read that one. Issue 2. Prince living double life as bandit? Rumors have been circulating that the prince has been spotted in Sable performing what are described as bandit-like activities. This news has carried much consternation for the prince's forces. However, there are conflicting reports that state that the prince was in Lelkar at the time. But an eyewitness from Sable who requested anonymity is sure the culprit is indeed His Royal Highness. I seen him with my own eyes. My own 2 eyes, the witness said. He was walking all regal. Ain't no doubt it was the prince. Perhaps not even an official denial by the prince will put an end to these suspicions. Back page. Yashina Village, hot springs dry up. The Dawn Times has learned that Yashina Village, a tourist resort famous for its hot springs, is experiencing a strange and sudden reduction in the amount of hot water coming from its subterranean sources. The proprietors of the hot springs are at their wits' ends. Adding to the stress and heartbreak for the citizens of Yashina is that no one can pinpoint the cause of this mysterious drop in water volume. None of us can figure out what's gone wrong, an inn proprietor tearfully exclaimed. If something doesn't happen soon, we'll be out of business. And the serials. Portraits of the Enemy, Zahak. As promised in the previous installment of Portraits of the Enemy, the Dawn Times will share what we have learned about the traitor's Queen's Knight Zahak. To begin with, we must mention that Zahak is of noble birth. He is actually a distant relative of the Godwin family.
In fact, it was Lord Godwin who first discovered Zahak's talent for swordsmanship and recommended him for a position as a Queen's Knight. Zahak's first real taste of battle was during the Armus invasion 8 years ago, where he proved himself among the strongest of the Queen's Knights. Zahak is known for his quiet, measured disposition, but he's actually more cold and unfeeling than calm and composed. Those who have worked closely with him reveal an almost megalomaniacal personality, one who would do absolutely anything to achieve his goals. Portraits of the Enemy has uncovered the reason Zahak turned his back on the royal family. According to insiders, Zahak is firmly convinced that Lord Godwin's iron-fisted methods are truly the best way to make Felena into a more powerful nation. Zahak's unwavering devotion to the strong-arm tactics of Lord Godwin is probably the reason he set Lokar ablaze. In Zahak's judgment, this tactic was the best way to put the prince's forces in disarray and secure the Godwin faction's rapid evacuation, even if it put many innocents at risk. Former comrades of Zahak now say that they wouldn't put anything past him in the future. I was surprised at the time, but now that I think about it, that's just the kind of cold, calculated maneuver he'd make in battle. Former Queen's Knight Kyle said, "I was a damn fool not to expect it." Issue 3, front page. Urim Barrows behind Bandit Prince. The Dawn Times has learned that, as expected, the prince was indeed innocent of the bandit-like activities described to him by witnesses in Sable. The prince's forces succeeded in capturing a band of bandits on Ronro Mountain, outside Sable. The bandit ringleader had been pretending to be the prince. It turns out that Urim Barrows was the mastermind behind the scheme. In his words, he wished to sully the prince's name, but the prince's forces were able to lure Urim to Sable and reveal his scam in public, clearing the prince's name. Instead, it is the Barrows family whose name has now been sullied. Back page, Sable Corps joins Prince's camp. With the Bandit Prince scandal resolved, the Dawn Times has learned that Lord Ralbell of Sable has declared complete support for His Royal Highness. Lord Ralbell officially announced that the main force of the Sable Corps, led by General Din, would be placed under the Prince's command. On the condition that he join the Dragonia army, Roy, the leader of the bandits, was pardoned of the crime of gross impersonation of a regal with the intent to profit and deceive. Roy himself has now personally sworn fealty to the Prince. He is currently residing in Dragonia Castle. I don't know if you should have talked about that. Portraits of the Enemy, Urim Barrows. In this installment of Portraits of the Enemy, we examine one Urim Barrows, the man behind the Bandit Prince scheme. Due to his incompetence and other shortcomings, we strongly considered whether he was even worth including in the series. However, his plot could have severed ties between the Dragonia army and Sable, so we will take a closer look at him. As our readers doubtlessly know, Urim is Lord Barrows' second son, because his eldest son, Hiram, was assassinated during the battle over succession between Princess Falzram and Princess Shahriwar. Urim is in line to eventually become the head of the Barrows family. Urim is certainly not the ideal candidate to head up the senatorial faction, lacking common sense, strength, and bravery. Furthermore, he is hugely unpopular among the citizenry. Portraits of the Enemy has reason to believe that this chicken-hearted man is not done scheming against the prince. According to Lucerina, Urim's sister, the two of them were very close when they were children, but as she got older and began to help their father with his work, Urim became cold and distant. Around this time, he became deeply, indeed some might say obsessively attached to Princess Limzea. Issue 4, front page. Nethergate sets fire to Beaver Lodge. Beaver Lodge was set ablaze last night in a bold and shocking pre-dawn attack. Fortunately, the prince's forces rushed to the scene and performed search and rescue operations, keeping casualties to a minimum. However, most of the Beaver Lodge's residents were severely damaged in the attack. According to the prince's forces, Nethergate, the assassin group that also participated in the assault on the Sun Palace, was behind last night's arson. One of the attackers is alleged to have declared that the purpose of the assault was complete and total genocide against the beavers in their community. Lord Godwin has often made public reference to Felena's historic racial and cultural identity being subverted by the continued existence of the inferior demi-human races. There is little doubt that his scurrilous beliefs are behind this surprise attack on the beaver community. Boy, I think I need something to drink. Beavers, Prince, strike a chord. The morning after Nethergate's sudden assault on Beaver Lodge, Fualu, the Beaver Elder, expressed his deep appreciation of the prince for rushing to help his community in its greatest hour of need. He formally announced the Beaver's official intention to ally with His Highness and oppose the Godwins. The Beaver community is known for its ability to stay out of conflicts. During this war, the Beavers have done well to maintain their neutrality, but after discovering that the Godwin faction was plotting their extermination, they deemed it pointless to maintain this position any longer. Prince Auld heartily accepted Fualu's offer of an alliance. Serials, Portraits of the Enemy, Dolph. This time, Portraits of the Enemy examines Dolph, an enigmatic young man apparently behind the surprise attack on Beaver Lodge. He's also known as a poor man's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Dolph is a member of the notorious assassination organization Nethergate, and we have reason to believe that he played some role in the assault on the Sun Palace as well. However, Portraits of the Enemy has been unable to uncover the slightest hint about his personal history prior to joining Nethergate. In fact, even his place of birth and parentage are shrouded in mystery. We do know, however, that he has been known to go by the alias Mikafute. This name is strikingly similar to that of Takafute, who was Supreme Commander of Nethergate at the time of its dismantling 8 years ago. But we can only speculate on the relationship, if there is any, between the two. Rainwall falls into enemy hands. Around the same time Beaver Lodge was attacked, the Godwin army stormed into Rainwall and gained control with little resistance. But the townsfolk had little sympathy for Lord Barrows, now knowing that he had secretly conspired with Armis to divide our beloved Felena. Some even said he deserved his defeat. Leon snaps at Bandit Prince. The Dawn Times has learned that upon capture of the Bandit Prince, the prince's bodyguard, Leon, known for her mild disposition, openly unleashed her fury on Roy, the one who had been impersonating His Highness. Leon apparently urged him in no uncertain terms to repent for his actions. Rumor has it that this talk with Leon is what persuaded Roy to give up his bandit ways. Allegedly, Leon was sent over the edge after Roy persisted in addressing her as sweetie and calling His Royal Highness a coward. The Dawn Times attempted to reach both parties for interviews, but was rebuffed in both cases. "Please don't ask me about that. I'm so embarrassed," Leon said. Roy was less cordial, simply snorting and walking away, muttering what sounded like crazy-ass reporter under his breath. Portraits of the Enemy, Solemn Barrows. This time we examine the actions of Solemn Barrows, the unscrupulous head of the Barrows family. When Rainwall collapsed, Lord Barrows was forced to surrender to the Godwins, his long-standing enemies. The public, however, tired of his constant selfish maneuvering, has shown no sympathy. After all, it was Lord Barrows who pushed for Princess Falsrim to ascend to the throne despite her being only second in line for the title, igniting the Falsrim-Shahorar conflict. It was Lord Barrows who pushed dam construction forward, which planted the seeds for the Lord Lake Uprising. Lord Barrows even stole the Dawn Rune and allied with the new Armis Kingdom. Lord Barrows' intentions were decent, as his goal was to maintain peace by preventing the rise of the hardline Godwin faction. But he is a man who would sell Felena out to accomplish that goal, a true blight on our nation. Issue 6, Godwin's planning Limslea coronation. According to reliable sources, the Godwin faction is planning to push forward with Princess Limslea's coronation ceremony as soon as the period of mourning for the late Queen Arshtat has ended. After suffering a series of humiliating losses to His Royal Highness, the Dawn Times believes that if the Godwins cannot defeat the prince militarily, they will outmaneuver him politically. Please, this isn't even worth commenting on, a spokesman for the Dragonia army commented. Who the heck do we have a spokesperson? Why did no one tell me? While the prince's forces may be putting up a facade of nonchalance, there is little doubt that in-private schemes are being hatched to stop this coronation. An informal survey by the Dawn Times reveals that the Godwins have little support among the common folk. The Godwins have already taken one queen from us, said a townsperson who requested anonymity. Do they really plan to further desecrate the throne by installing their own puppet ruler? Back page. Godwin coronation, international affair. With Princess Limslea's coronation ceremony approaching, sources say that the Godwins have sent out invitations to all surrounding nations. The Godwins are no doubt planning to use the presence of international delegations at the ceremony to prop up the legitimacy of their suspect regime. Recipients include the Island Nations Federation, the New Armis Kingdom, the Scarlet Moon Empire, and the Dukedom of Gaian. In a shocking development, an invitation was even sent to Nagaria. We have not had formal diplomatic relations with this violent theocracy since their invasion of Felena generations ago. Incidentally, that's what outfit Aresh is wearing, a High Clergy of Nagaria outfit. While the invited countries surely have heard rumors about the legitimacy of the coronation, none are in a position to make waves by turning down such an invitation. Reliable sources say that all the invited nations are expected to show diplomatic courtesy. All will be sending delegations to the ceremony. Portraits of the Enemy, Gazelle Godwin. As soon as Princess Limslea's coronation ceremony is held, Gazelle is expected to assume the role of commander of the Queen's Knights. His father, Lord Godwin, is a man who makes his presence felt, while Gazelle lurks in the shadows, but insiders say that Gazelle is the one who's really dangerous. We have reason to believe that he was the brains behind Kildrick's victory at the Sacred Games. While Lord Godwin is known for taking only necessary action, Gazelle is the opposite. He loves to meticulously set traps
and then watch his victim squirm in the palm of his hand. One can only imagine what sort of diabolical schemes he'll have in store as commander of the Queen's Knights. Issue 7, Coronation Ceremony Held. The Godwins announced that Princess Limzea's coronation ceremony was held at the Sun Palace yesterday, celebrating the new Queen's enthronement with grandeur. They also demanded the princess's allegiance to Queen Limzlea and immediate cessation of rebellion, calling for unity throughout Felena. We will not negotiate with a corrupt and tyrannical occupying regime, a spokesperson for the prince said. We will continue to demand the immediate halt of Princess Limzea's unlawful detention and an end to the illegal occupation of the Sun Palace. Back page, meeting with Island Nation's delegate. More than 10 days before Limzlea's coronation ceremony, the prince traveled to Nirva Island for a secret meeting with the Island Nation's Federation delegate, Admiral Skald Egan. Should we be talking about this in the newspaper? The prince was able to negotiate an alliance with Admiral Egan, sure to be a strategic ally from now on. We didn't actually get an alliance. In the interest of full disclosure, the Dawn Times had received word of this meeting beforehand. However, in the interest of protecting the safety of His Royal Highness and Admiral Egan, we decided to hold off on running the story until the well-being of both parties could be ensured. The Dawn Times editorial position. The Godwin faction has announced Princess Limzea's enthronement, proudly proclaiming her the new Queen of Sol Felena. However, the Dawn Times entirely supports the prince's opinion that this coronation was completely illegitimate, illegal, and invalid. While we maintain the utmost respect and reverence for Her Royal Highness the Princess, we do not recognize the puppet queen of an occupying regime. Therefore, the Dawn Times will continue to refer to Auld as His Royal Highness the Prince and to Limzlea as Her Royal Highness the Princess. We hope to have the understanding and support of our esteemed readers on this matter. Please note that, due to space limitations, the special series column will not appear in this edition. Issue 8. Notices. Notice. Publication to be suspended. Due to circumstances beyond our control, the publication of the Dawn Times has been temporarily suspended. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause to our loyal readers. We will, however, return before long. We plan to resume publication in time to cover the next big military operation. Thank you for your patience, loyal readers. Issue 9. Prince proves military superiority. Pushing his forces into Dorat, strategic position for the Godwin faction, the prince succeeded in capturing the city. In the middle of the battle, the people of Dorat threw open the castle gates, which contributed greatly to the Godwin army's defeat. The news of the Queen's Knights setting fire to Lelkar had spread throughout the queendom. Wanting to avoid a similar fate, the people of Dorat were probably trying to evacuate as quickly as possible. With the capture of Dorat, His Royal Highness is now in control of more than 2/3 of Felena. The Dragonia army holds an overwhelming advantage over the Godwin faction. Twilight Rune used. The siege on Dorat ended in triumph for the prince, but the Dawn Times has learned that the Godwin faction, in its desperation for victory, brought the sacred Twilight Rune into battle. The Queen's Knight Alenia held the rune, but was unable to handle its power, nearly causing the rune to go berserk. The prince's forces have strongly condemned this action. Not being Felenan royalty, it is blasphemous for the Godwin faction to bring the Twilight Rune, a sacred symbol of the royal house of Felena, onto the battlefield. Serials, Portraits of the Enemy, Alenia. This time, Portraits of the Enemy takes a look at the traitorous Queen's Knight Alenia, who recently carried the Twilight Rune into battle during the siege of Dorat. Her father, also a Queen's Knight, trained her with a blade. When he fell in battle during the Armis invasion, Alenia said that he died because he was weak. Thus she hates for anyone to imply that she is following in her father's footsteps or trying to avenge his death. Wow, she is a horrible, horrible daughter. For some time, she has made no secret of her strong affinity for the Godwin faction, or rather the Godwin family itself. This affinity is thought to be the reason for her betrayal, unlike Zahak and his unshakable convictions. Indeed, Alenia seems to often act based on emotion rather than logic. Special issues. Aethelbald family tree discovered. Prince Auld recently acquired a chart of the Aethelbald family tree. Even though the Aethelbalds fell into ruin 100 years ago, they are still considered one of the most prestigious families in all of Felena, as one can trace their lineage to the country's founding. The family's brilliant history is gloriously inscribed in the chart that His Highness obtained. The family tree is deemed priceless as both a museum piece and a historical artifact. However, a mysterious thief known only as Crow has been targeting the family trees of the aristocracy recently. So the prince has asked the detective Oboro to safeguard the precious Aethelbald chart. This Crow is nothing more than a third-rate thief, Oboro said, his lips forming a confident smile. I've caught him in the act before, and I'll do it again. Believe me, the prince has got nothing to worry about. With such an experienced detective on the case, it appears the prince can rest easy. Issue 10. Princess Limzea to the front? Fresh from the defeat at Dorat, the Godwins have released a shocking statement. Our new monarch, Queen Limzea, intends to go into battle to personally put down the rebel army, a Godwin spokesperson said. This plan is surely not Princess Limzea's own. Many feel the Godwins have forced her to the battlefield. However, the prince's tactician Lucretia remained characteristically unfazed at this development. We were expecting something like this, she said. We need only deal with whatever the enemy may bring. We cannot allow the enemy's actions to fluster our ranks and cause panic and dissent. Mysterious man appears at Big Hole. The Dawn Times has learned that a peculiar-looking man was recently seen at the Big Hole north of Rainwall. And Dragonia Army. Huh. A Dragonia Army guard on duty at the Big Hole said that the man had a dwarven companion with him and continuously stared at the western sky with a look of grave concern. The Dragonia Army guard called out to this enigmatic elder in an attempt to get his attention, but the man didn't respond. He's been there a lot longer than this report came in, and proceeded to enter the Big Hole. The soldier gave chase, but both the old man and the dwarf had mysteriously vanished. This sighting occurred on the same day as the siege of Dorat. The old man appeared to be looking in the direction of Dorat, but one wonders how he could have seen it from the Big Hole. But the Dragonia Army guard reported that the man didn't seem to be simply looking in that direction by chance. Portraits of the enemy, Queen's Army. This time, Portraits of the Enemy won't discuss a single person, but will instead investigate the newly formed force that the Godwin faction has christened the Queen's Campaign Army. The battleground against the Queen's Campaign Army will probably be on the plains northeast of Dorat. Thus, this will likely be a battleground of troops only. The strongest Godwin ground soldiers are General Novum's troops, but they haven't budged from Rainwall. This means then that the main force of the Campaign Army must be the Imperial Defense Force stationed in Solfalena, and Queen's Knights such as Zahak and Alenia will most likely head them up. Normally, the commander of the Queen's Knights takes command of a campaign army, but these are hardly normal circumstances at the Sun Palace. Thus, it remains a mystery whether Gazelle himself will show his face in battle. Issue 11. Prince prevails northeast of Dorat. The prince's army engaged the Godwin main force, which approached from the north in a battle northeast of Dorat, and succeeded in driving them back. Princess Limzea herself accompanied the Godwin army, but it is thought that she safely withdrew to Solfalena along with the core of the Godwin troops. The rebel army has gone too far even for them. Imagine a revolt against our fair queen herself, a Godwin spokesperson said. The people of Falena aren't buying this propaganda, however, and popular perception is that the Godwins themselves put Princess Limzea in harm's way. Leon severely injured. The Dawn Times has learned that the prince's bodyguard, Leon, was critically wounded in the recent engagement northeast of Dorat. Even though she seems to have narrowly escaped death thanks to the healing efforts of Dr. Silva, Leon remains in a coma, critically wounded. Without a hint of celebration anywhere in Dragonia Castle over the recent victory, we have been strongly reminded of exactly how important Leon really is to our cause. Portraits of the Enemy, Queen's Knights. In the engagement northeast of Dorat, the Queen's Knights, meant to serve and protect the royal house of Falena, were instead divided into two camps and forced to do battle, essentially destroying themselves from the inside. Today we focus on the Queen's Knights. Their history dates back to the founding of Falena, but they were originally a part of the Imperial Defense Knights, with hundreds of members. But when the capital was relocated to Solfalena, an Imperial Defense Corps was organized separately. Instead, the Queen's Knights were assigned as personal bodyguards to protect the Queen and her closest relatives alone. Their numbers were also drastically reduced, with less than 10 at any given time. Being chosen as a Queen's Knight therefore meant being recognized as one of the best warriors in Falena. There was no higher armor. It is certainly distressing, then, to see warriors given such a distinguished honor become mere puppets of the Godwin faction. Issue 12. Prince to meet with Dragon Cavalry. The Dawn Times has learned that the prince is scheduled to visit Saronix's castle to officially meet with the leader of the Dragon Cavalry. The cavalry is forbidden to get involved in domestic disputes within Falena. It seems unlikely that the prince will gain any immediate support from them. However, because it's impossible to deny the possibility that the Godwin faction, caught in an inferior military position, might conspire with foreign powers, we believe the prince would like to discuss this scenario in advance with the Dragon Cavalry. Oracle Haswar returns to Lunas. Ever since the Godwin faction occupied Solfalena, the Oracle of Lunas, Haswar, has stayed at the Sun Palace as a show of support for Princess Limzea. However, we have received word that she returned to Lunas following the recent coronation of Her Royal Highness. Information within Solfalena is being strictly regulated these days, so this rumor is difficult to confirm. However, we have received confirmation from several different channels. Portraits of the Enemy, Ceolides. It is with the deepest regret imaginable that Portraits of the Enemy runs this column. But there is no denying that it was Sealieds who interfered with the operation to rescue Princess Limzea during the engagement northeast of Dorat. Sadly, we now have no other choice but to call her an enemy. So what caused Sealied's sudden turn to the enemy side? An investigation reveals that her turn may not have been so sudden. About 10 years ago, Queen Falsram was crowned with the help of the Barrows family. Despite this, however, she was always careful not to let their influence grow too great. To preserve the balance of power between senatorial factions, she engaged her second daughter, Sealieds, to be married to the young Gazelle of the Godwin family. However, Gazelle and Sealieds, rather than being distressed about being forced together for political reasons, were actually quite pleased. In fact, Gazelle is said to have practically worshipped Sealieds. It would probably be too simplistic to assume that Sealied's relationship with Gazelle is the reason for her traitorous actions. However, Portraits of the Enemy can find no other plausible explanation. Issue 13. Dragon Cavalry promises cooperation. After a meeting at Saronix's castle with Commander Craig Layden of the Dragon Cavalry, the prince received a firm promise of full cooperation in the event of a foreign military intervention. The talk was quite cordial from beginning to end. Commander Layden couldn't hide his sympathy for the prince's cause. However, the discussion didn't end with a simple confirmation of the Dragon Cavalry's intentions. Instead, they will take a much more active role than originally anticipated. Both Commander Craig Layden and His Royal Highness the Prince are well aware that Felena will be in grave danger if the Godwin faction conspires with any foreign powers, a spokesperson for the Prince said. The two sides will work together to actively pursue any leads on the matter. Leon recovers. The Prince returned home to a surprise after his meeting with Commander Craig Layden of the Dragon Cavalry. Leon, who had been in a coma, suddenly took a turn for the better and has regained consciousness. Her subsequent prognosis is turning out to be quite favorable. Some are of the opinion that the prince saved Leon by using the Dawn Rune's new powers, but the Dawn Times is unable to confirm the details of the story. Regardless, morale inside the castle has improved for the first time in what seems like ages. Serials. Portraits of the Enemy, Enemy Mysteries. On the way back from Saronix's castle, the prince's forces investigated the ruins in the deep Twilight Forest. Inside, they were suddenly attacked by a gigantic tree and forced to fight it off. Huge mysterious monsters also appeared in the Sayers Lake ruins. While these creatures are not directly involved with the Lord Godwin's forces, one can certainly call them enemies nonetheless. However, they seem to only appear in Sindar ruins. Why might this be? Issue 14. Godwin begins counteroffensive. In a daring pre-dawn attack, the Godwin army has quickly and decisively brought Dorat under their control, and we have word that in concurrent attacks, the Armus Western Marine Corps invaded Estris, and the Armus Southern Mountain Corps made an assault on Sable. With simultaneous attacks in Dorat, Estris, and Sable, it seems clear that the Godwin faction has made an alliance with the Armus army, suddenly putting the prince in an inferior military position. Just as had been feared, the Godwins have conspired with a foreign power. But the Dragonia army had anticipated the possibility of an attack like this and came up with a detailed evacuation plan. In Sable, evacuation was carried out quickly. Everything went according to plan without a single casualty. In Dorat, too, the evacuation proceeded smoothly, but pro-Godwin residents refused to go along with the plan, choosing to stay behind. Now there is much concern about how the Godwin army will treat them. Some reports claim that Estris fell without a fight, though the Dawn Times has yet to confirm this. Alliance between Godwins and Armus. In the past, Lord Godwin has been quoted as saying that Felena should use the unparalleled might of the Sun Rune to take control of all barbaric nations. It has long been believed that were Lord Godwin in a position of military authority, the new Armus Kingdom would be the first on his hit list. Armus, too, has long been aware of Godwin's supremacist beliefs, and has never tried to conceal its animosity towards the Godwin faction. That is why this alliance is all the more incomprehensible. There are rumors that the Godwin faction has promised Armus some kind of grand reward for their cooperation, but our sources are unable to determine what exactly this reward might be. Portraits of the Enemy, Kildrick. Today we focus on Kildrick, newly appointed as a Queen's Knight. Just as with Dolph, however, information about him is surprisingly limited. Everyone knows that he was the Godwin faction's representative at the Sacred Games, but his activities before then are a complete mystery. The only thing we can say for certain is that he is a member of Nethergate. But while most Nethergate assassins show no emotion, the cold-hearted, cruel Kildrick is quite different. After gaining control of Dorat, rumor has it that he enforced discipline in the most brutal of ways so violent and cruel, in fact, that they are unsuitable for printing in this newspaper. Kildrick is sure to remain a key enemy of the Dragonia army. Issue 15. Dragon Cavalry doesn't respond. After the Armus invasion, the prince rushed personally to Saronix's castle. The prince and the Dragon Cavalry had agreed to an alliance in the event of a foreign invasion, but Commander Craig Layden refused to go through with an attack. not even giving a reason for his actions. There are rumors that the Godwin faction is blackmailing the Dragon Cavalry in order to keep them in line. However, with war raging, there is simply no time to investigate the matter any further. Cave Dwarves. Prince, reach alliance. His Royal Highness has gained more allies in the fight against the occupying regime. Lord Godwin, still determined to wipe out the inferior demi-human races, recently ordered Nethergate to annihilate the Cave Dwarves, with several murders successfully carried out. However, the Prince's forces happened to pass through the Cave Dwarves' underground lair, just as an attack was taking place. In great debt to the Prince, the Cave Dwarves have sworn vengeance on the Godwins. They are the newest members of the Dragonia army. Portraits of the enemy, Nethergate. Thanks to the Prince, the Nethergate assassins who attacked the dwarves were turned back. Upon investigation, these assassins were using a powerful drug called Raging Nostrum, which temporarily gives an ordinary man superhuman strength. When its effect wears off, however, the user invariably dies. At one time, there was a division of Nethergate that specialized in drug development. Portraits of the Enemy believes that Raging Nostrum and the Dark Arcanum used in the Sacred Games and the attack on the Sun Palace are, without question, creations of that allegedly defunct division. That leads to this question: could the Nethergate Drug Division have been revived? Portraits of the Enemy will investigate this matter with the greatest vigilance possible. Issue 16. Lord Lake Lelkar fall to enemy. With the Armist Southern Mountain Corps bearing down on Lord Lake and the main force of the Godwin army approaching Lelkar, the Dragonia army advanced on both towns. They carried out bold defensive battles in both Lord Lake and Lelkar, but in the end, the Prince's forces were hopelessly outnumbered. Not being able to maintain the front lines of either town, they were forced to retreat, regrettably allowing enemy troops to take both Lord Lake and Lelkar. But the defeats were not a total loss. The strong defensive fight shown by the Prince's forces gave the townsfolk enough time to evacuate completely. In fact, sources say that the safe evacuation of Lord Lake and Lelkar was the reason behind the Dragonia army's presence in the first place. Prince's forces hanging on by thread. After losing Lord Lake and Lelkar, the only territories still held by the Prince's forces are Raftfleet and Dragonia Castle. Fortunately, these areas can probably withstand quite a siege, but with Lord Godwin gaining much military might, the Prince's outlook seems grim. Still, the Prince's tactician, Lucretia, isn't showing the slightest bit of anxiety, and the Prince and his staff seem to be maintaining their composure as well. How can they be so calm? Does the Prince's inner circle have some sort of trick up their sleeves in the event of an invasion? Perhaps. Portraits of the enemy, Jidan Gisu. Jidan Gisu is the leader of the Armist Southern Mountain Corps, who invaded both Sable and Lord Lake. Many of our readers will also remember that Gisu also once conspired with Lord Barrows. Yesterday Barrows, today Godwin. He certainly lacks loyalty, and he has apparently always been this way. That guy only got where he is by kissing Commander Sparna's ass, an anonymous Armist insider said. He'll make a deal with anyone, anywhere, as long as it'll take him ahead. And once the deal's over, or even before, he'll stab you right in the back if he finds something better. Issue 17. Prince floods out foes. The Prince had to flee his own castle and literally go underground, but recently he was able to return safely. First, he managed to secure the services of the Fatus Dragon Cavalry. Then, in an ingenious plan, the enemy occupation met a swift and speedy end. The Prince closed the sluice gate that controls the water level of Saris Lake. In the ensuing flood, the enemy forces that had been occupying Dragonia Castle were forced to evacuate. With His Royal Highness recapturing his base of operations, things are looking up for the first time in a long while. Godwin Dragon Cavalry blackmail plot. The Dawn Times has uncovered the truth behind the Dragon Cavalry's recent refusal to repel the Armist invasion. It turns out that the Godwins took Dragon Horse foals and eggs as hostages, threatening to slaughter them if Saronix Castle did not agree to complete silence and compliance. The Dawn Times has learned that it was none other than His Royal Highness the Prince who uncovered this malevolent conspiracy. The Dragon Cavalry is said to have sworn vengeance on the Godwins for their reprehensible act. Armist Western Marine Corps goes home. The Godwin Army and Southern Mountain Corps' defeat at the Prince's Castle has apparently convinced the Western Marine Corps, which had been occupying Estrees, to withdraw to its native Armists without incident. Despite a long period of occupation, Estrees appears to have suffered little damage. With its return home, the Western Marine Corps has essentially deserted the Southern Mountain Corps, who still occupy Sable. However, the Valia family, the head of the Western Marine Corps, has always been known as a moderate Armist faction. In fact, the Dawn Times has learned that the Western Marine Corps may have not been dispatched for fighting purposes at all. Sources say that they were sent only to keep the more hardline Southern Mountain Corps in check, preventing the wholesale slaughter of major Falanan cities. Issue 18. Dorat and Sable recaptured. The prince's forces have recaptured Dorat and Sable in 2 separate spectacular military triumphs. After the valiant defense of Dragonia Castle, the prince dispatched units to pursue the fleeing enemy. The main force of the Godwin army hold themselves up in Dorat, where they were defeated. Meanwhile, the Southern Mountain Corps fled to Sable, where they were intercepted by the prince's forces and repelled. With these 2 victories, the Dragonia army has succeeded in regaining the territory originally lost in the shocking Armis invasion. The Dawn Times has confirmed that General Bahram Luger, commander of the Godwin army, and General Jidan Gisu of the Armis Southern Mountain Corps both perished during these most recent skirmishes. Prince defeats General Luger. I imagine that this would be different if I had taken the other route. Just after the Dragonia army succeeded in liberating Dorat, the main force of the Godwin army attempted to flee the area by ship. The Godwin forces were quickly surrounded by raft fleet, and it seemed the Godwins would be routed right then and there. In order to create a weak point in the Dragonia army's lines, General Bahram Luger brazenly began hand-to-hand combat with the prince's forces. However, His Royal Highness managed to defeat General Luger, preventing an enemy breach. Unfortunately, though, the Dawn Times must acknowledge that General Luger did achieve his goal to some extent, as Queen's Knight Kildrick, General Novum, and other enemy forces managed to escape Dorat safely. They are believed to have headed toward Stormfist, the Godwin faction's stronghold. Portraits of the enemy. Bahram Luger. General Bahram Luger, commander of the Godwin Navy, risked everything with a desperate offensive aimed at buying time for the other Godwin units to escape Dorat. In the end, he wound up going down with his flagship, the Kulsaspur. It is well known that Luger was once the assistant of Admiral Raja, who was also then the commander of the Navy. But it's believed that being of noble birth, Luger at first felt resentful about having to work under Admiral Raja, the daughter of a fisherman. However, Luger also had an open mind, and soon recognized the Admiral's abilities. He devoted himself to his duties as her faithful assistant, and the two developed a student-master relationship. Luger's help was invaluable during the Armis invasion 8 years ago. Had he not allied himself with the Godwin faction, he would have remained an important asset to Felena. He had so much talent, but he had to go and do things his way in the end, Admiral Raja said. It really was an honor to train him, though. And the final current issue, issue 19, front page, Godwin's stronghold collapses. The Dragonia army recently pushed its troops into Stormfist, the Godwin faction's stronghold, and after a fierce engagement, succeeded in capturing the town. A group of former gladiators joined forces with the prince's forces, contributing significantly to the victory. Lord Godwin and the main force had already moved to Solfelena, so the capture of Stormfist doesn't mean an end to the war, but General Novum and Kildrick both died during this battle. So, combined with the loss of their castle, the Godwin faction has been dealt a heavy blow indeed. Sea leads with Twilight Rune. During the recent siege of Stormfist, the Godwin faction once again showed its desperation by using the Twilight Rune. This time, however, it was in the hands of the prince's aunt Sealeeds, not the Queen's Knight Alenia, and its power was noticeably stronger. Sealeeds' actions are becoming more and more enigmatic and unpredictable. Many in the prince's inner circle have privately confided to the Dawn Times that Sealeeds' erratic behavior is becoming a grave concern. And serials. Portraits of the enemy. Dilber Novum. Novum, who was defeated by the prince during the siege of Stormfist, was known as a warrior among warriors. Many, including Lord Wilde, lamented his death. As with his friend General Luger, siding with the Godwin faction was Novum's downfall. However, one can understand Novum's devotion to the Godwin faction. During the Armis invasion 8 years ago, Novum's unit was so enraged by the brutal tactics of the enemy that they deviated from tactician Lucretius' strategic plan and charged the Armis forces. But they soon found themselves boxed in by the enemy. Only a valiant charge by the Godwin family troops, led by Marskull, rescued Novum and his men. From that day forward, Novum never forgot the debt he owed the Godwin family, and vowed to do absolutely anything for Marskull. However, because that devotion led to his ultimate demise, Portraits of the Enemy wonders if he was satisfied with his choice in the end. And that's all of the current issues of the newspaper. We'll probably read the rest as we go along. And that's it for this episode, and that's it for this session. My voice is tired. I will see you all in the next episode, which we still have to go back to Stormfist and talk to all the civilians there. See you next time, everyone.